What is sarcopenia and how can we handle it? Sarcopenia is a degenerative process that is materialized by a progressive loss of muscle mass and function. This loss is caused by a slowed-down protein synthesis and an accelerated muscle catabolism. This age-related muscle degradation affects almost 10% of adults over the age of 50 and compromises the quality of life as well as life expectancy. This loss of muscle mass inevitably leads to accelerated aging, loss of autonomy and numerous mechanical and physiological pathologies. We propose to explain the principle of sarcopenia and how to slow down the process considerably. When we consume a meal that contains proteins, the body normally reacts by increasing its insulin levels and accelerating the synthesis of proteins so that the amino acids can be properly captured by the muscle fibers. With age, this ability of the body to initiate protein synthesis becomes less and less efficient, which implies an increased catabolism and a loss of muscle mass, as the body is no longer able to efficiently distribute amino acids. Sarcopenia is therefore the result of the body's inability to maintain a positive nitrogen balance. Weakened muscles can no longer protect bones and joints, leading to multiple injuries that are increasingly difficult to heal. And the immobility that this loss of muscle implies leads itself to numerous pathologies that can be life-threatening. On this channel, we approach health from a global point of view, by working on the 4 pillars of health: diet, physical activity, mental health and sleep. If you are not yet a subscriber to the YouTube channel, Top Fitness Health, consider subscribing, and if you want to be notified when a new video is released, consider activating the little bell. The causes: after the age of 50, it is considered that we can lose up to 3% of muscle mass per year. This catabolism is linked to a decrease in the secretion of hormones such as growth hormone and testosterone, in both men and women. The drop in hormone levels automatically reduces protein synthesis, which causes the body to enter into a process of constant catabolism. While sarcopenia is a normal process related to aging and declining hormone levels, certain factors can make it worse, such as lack of physical activity. Indeed, muscles that are never used naturally atrophy, even when we are young. With age, this atrophy is even more pronounced. If you don't walk for 2 or 3 weeks, your muscles lose strength and tone. The loss of strength further reduces activities, and the vicious circle is endless. With the loss of bone density that the lack of muscle mass induces, injuries are more and more numerous and the periods of immobilization are longer and longer. An unbalanced diet. As we age, many people increasingly neglect the quality of their diets, with their attraction to refined sugars and saturated fats clearly taking precedence over protein and fiber needs. Alcohol and appetizers are gradually encroaching on dinner, which now consists only of highly desirable, easily chewed foods. The diet is gradually reduced to an uncontrolled consumption of high glycemic index carbohydrates and fats, most of which are saturated. This combination of simple sugars and bad fats is known to disrupt the appetite and satiety signals. The body receives less and less protein and more junk food that only intoxicates the body and further reduces protein synthesis. Disease and inflammation. Often caused by poor nutrition and lack of activity, inflammation of the body is responsible for all chronic diseases and pathologies: diabetes, cancer, cholesterol, cardiovascular problems, etc. These diseases, and also their treatments, further reduce protein synthesis, and consequently anabolism. As you can see, sarcopenia is a natural process, but in most cases it is aggravated by a lack of activity, an unbalanced diet and all the metabolic disorders that result from it. How to fight and slow down sarcopenia? The Weider brothers were already predicting it in the 1950s. Weight training is the best remedy against aging. And indeed, recent studies show that training with loads, resistance, causes an anabolic response that builds muscle mass, regardless of age. This training response causes the production of new proteins and the involvement of satellite cells, which are able to produce new muscle fibers. Also, training increases growth hormone and testosterone levels, both of which lead to increased protein synthesis. Although less effective, cardio training is also a good remedy for sarcopenia. By improving mobility and flexibility, it still strengthens the muscles which, in response, synthesize protein better and are thus strengthened. Cardio can be a good way to gently get back into an activity before entering a more solid training program with loads. Nutrition and food supplements. The various studies on sarcopenia and nutrition emphasize a determining factor. The body responds less and less well to the protein intake of meals. However, researchers have noticed that a very high protein meal, 80 grams, can boost protein synthesis and have even directed studies on the effects of high protein intake on a single meal. And the results speak for themselves. People who received 80 grams of protein in a single meal saw their nitrogen balance return to positive, while people who ate reduced amounts of protein over several meals saw no change. The fight against sarcopenia with food should therefore be directed towards tricks to provoke a postprandial anabolic peak, by playing with the speed of protein assimilation. The whey protein. The latest research on the subject seems to show that to maintain a positive nitrogen balance on each meal, the latter must contain at least 20 grams of protein. For these proteins to be correctly taken up by the muscles, they must be assimilated very quickly, either by taking L-leucine or by consuming whey protein. Indeed, whey is a very fast digesting protein, which also has the great advantage of containing a large amount of BCAA, branched-chain amino acids, including leucine. Whey is therefore the protein to be favored to fight against sarcopenia. Associated with a training program with loads, weight training, the degenerative process is reversed thanks to a reinforced muscle anabolism and a positive nitrogen balance. For each of your 4 daily meals, add a 10 grams portion of whey protein, in addition to your 20 grams, solid, protein ration, meat, fish, eggs, etc. Vitamin D deficiency is a common health problem around the world, especially among the elderly who are at higher risk of vitamin D deficiency due to low dietary intake and too little sun exposure. Vitamin D regulates and modulates physiology and several human functions, including skeletal muscle. The action of vitamin D on muscle has been extensively studied, suggesting that it may stimulate the proliferation and differentiation of skeletal muscle fibers, maintaining and improving muscle strength and physical performance. In the meantime, given that vitamin D deficiency is very common in seniors and that vitamin D has many other biological roles besides those on skeletal muscle, better absorption of calcium to fight osteoporosis, it is worthwhile to have one's blood levels of vitamin D tested if sarcopenia is suspected in order to supplement if necessary. L-citrulline. L-citrulline is a non-proteinogenic amino acid. It does not enter the composition of proteins. It plays a role in the formation of muscles and is involved in the synthesis of nitric oxide, a molecule involved in vasodilatation, increased blood circulation and muscle oxygenation. The consumption of L-citrulline also significantly increases the speed of muscle protein synthesis. Research has proven the effectiveness of citrulline supplementation in the elderly to increase their muscle mass, thus positioning itself as an effective natural treatment. A study conducted on 24 patients showed that citrulline supplementation can increase muscle mass by 5 to 10%. In addition, another study conducted on seniors over 60 years of age suffering from sarcopenia and obesity underlines that citrulline supplementation combined with intense physical exercise is effective in improving overall walking speed and muscle strength. It is therefore an interesting strategy to delay or prevent the loss of autonomy in elderly people with sarcopenia. To fill up on L-citrulline via the diet, the best sources are watermelon, cucumber and melon, but you would have to eat huge quantities to provide the body with a sufficient amount in case of sarcopenia. It is therefore best to supplement with L-citrulline in the form of a food supplement. Chlorella. Chlorella is an edible green algae that has a variety of nutritional components such as protein, 60 grams, 100 grams, fatty acids, dietary fiber, chlorophyll, minerals, vitamins and carotenoids. It has been reported that chlorella also has powerful antioxidant properties, as it is rich in carotenoids and other antioxidants such as lutein, B-carotene, alpha-tocopherol and ascorbic acid. It is precisely because of this nutritional richness that the scientific community has studied this seaweed and its benefits as a natural treatment for sarcopenia. Studies show that long-term consumption of chlorella has indeed beneficial effects on body weight and prevents oxidative stress, muscle atrophy and mitochondrial dysfunction. This microalgae also improves the regenerative capacity of young and senescent myoblasts and promotes myoblast differentiation, indicating its potential to promote muscle regeneration. Finally, chlorella can also act as an anti-aging agent. Omega-3. Omega-3 fatty acids influence muscle protein metabolism. A randomized controlled trial conducted in 2011 aimed to evaluate the effect of omega-3 fatty acid supplementation on the rate of muscle protein synthesis in the elderly. The study found that omega-3 supplementation increases the rate of muscle protein synthesis in the elderly and thus may be useful in the prevention and treatment of sarcopenia. In addition, the anti-inflammatory properties of omega-3 EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, preserve muscle mass under a variety of physiological conditions and could thus be useful in the management of sarcopenia. Reports have shown that EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, omega-3 may have a greater influence on muscle protein turnover while DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, may be more beneficial in neuromuscular diseases. Finally, a recent study conducted in 2015 confirmed that supplementation with omega-3 fatty acids derived from fish oil slowed the normal decline in muscle mass and function in the elderly and should be considered as a therapeutic approach to prevent sarcopenia and maintain physical independence in older adults. Therefore, you may consider supplementing with fish oil or flaxseed oil to increase your intake of omega-3 acids. Creatine. Recent research shows that creatine is very effective in building muscle mass and fighting sarcopenia. In fact, 357 people aged 64 years were subjected to weight training and consumed 5 grams of creatine per day for 6 weeks. These people saw their muscle mass increase, while the control group that did not consume creatine did not gain muscle mass. Sarcopenia is a natural process related to age, but it is possible to reduce its effects by doing weight training. 3 sessions of 30 to 45 minutes per week will be beneficial to fight against muscle loss, but also to gain muscle. It is indeed possible to build muscle at any age. By consuming at least 20 grams of protein per meal, and adding 10 grams of whey protein and especially by reducing your consumption of refined sugars and saturated fats and stopping alcohol consumption. By taking about 3 grams of creatine before each workout. If you are not yet a subscriber to the YouTube channel, Top Fitness Health, consider subscribing, and if you want to be notified when a new video is released, remember to activate the little bell. See you soon for more videos. And until then, take care of yourself.